from the time we're really young, we are just constantly sold this idea of the perfectly balanced scale.
Right, it's like it permeates everything we do.
Exactly. We're told we need to eat a balanced diet, keep a balanced financial portfolio, strive for that perfect work-life balance.
Yes, the conventional wisdom across almost every discipline, that sustainable success requires you to be well-rounded.
Right. The prevailing theory is basically that if you act like a jack of all trades, you kind of insulate yourself against failure.
Because the underlying assumption there is that, well, specialization is a trap.
Yeah.
The fear is that if you lean too far in any one direction, like if you put all your chips on a single strategy, you expose a fatal weakness.
You become predictable.
Exactly. And in any competitive arena, predictability is supposed to be a death sentence.
But what if that entire philosophy is just a complete myth? Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're transporting you to week 3 of the 2035 college football season.
Which is such an interesting week to look at.
It really is. Our sources for this dive consist of a massive stack of raw game stats, detailed box scores, and some incredibly revealing coaching notes from that exact week.
Yeah, and the mission for today is to essentially hunt for the hidden formulas of sheer dominance.
Right. We are extracting the DNA of total victory by looking strictly at the week 3 results of the nation's top teams.
Because the 2035 Week 3 slate serves as just the perfect laboratory for this exact experiment.
It really does.
We have 2 comprehensive blowout statements made by 2 powerhouse programs. And when you look at the data, they provide a really fascinating case study in strategic extremes.
Yeah, we're looking at the number 1 ranked team in the country, the Tulsa Golden Hurricane, and the number 4 ranked team, the Arizona State Sun Devils.
Both of these teams achieved just suffocating, totally comprehensive victories.
But the methods they used to get there, I mean, it is like they were playing 2 completely different sports.
Totally. They utilized entirely opposite philosophies to arrive at the exact same destination.
Okay, let's unpack this, starting with the team out in the desert. We need to examine the physics of suffocation by looking at the matchup between number 4 Arizona State and number 21 Miami.
So going into that weekend, a top 25 clash like this projects as a highly competitive back-and-forth kind of battle.
Right, you expect 2 talented rosters to trade blows.
Yeah, make tactical adjustments and likely settle the score late in the fourth quarter.
But the reality was just a methodical dismantling. ASU pulled apart Miami with a final score of 45-10.
It wasn't even close.
No, and when you dig into the raw volume of this game, the numbers they defy standard logic. ASU outgained Miami 614 total yards to 309.
Which is a huge gap.
It's massive, but the statistic that truly jumps off the page is the play count. Arizona State ran 98 offensive plays compared to Miami's 57.
Wow. And just to put that 98 play figure into perspective for anyone who doesn't stare at football analytics all day.
Please do.
An average college football offense runs roughly like 65 to 70 plays in a game. Pushing near 100 plays means the offense was on the field hoarding the clock for an agonizing amount of time.
Yeah, that differential isn't just a statistical quirk. It is a physiological weapon used to completely break a defensive line's will.
It really is.
And it didn't even happen right away. The first quarter was actually scoreless.
Right. If you were watching early on, you might have assumed Miami's defense was holding strong.
But then ASU just flipped a switch and erupted for 38 unanswered points.
Yeah.
And the battering ram of this entire operation was M. Queen.
Oh, man. Queen's performance was unbelievable.
Queen carried the ball 39 times for 248 rushing yards and 3 touchdowns.
39 carries in one game.
Yeah, the physical toll of taking 39 hits from massive defenders is just staggering. It makes me think of the mechanism of a boa constrictor.
A boa constrictor. Okay, how so?
Well, it's not about a quick venomous strike, right?
Yeah.
A constrictor doesn't crush you all at once. It just wraps around you and waits for you to exhale.
Ah, I see.
And the second you let the air out of your lungs, it fills that empty space so you cannot take a breath back in. That is exactly what a 98-play drive does to a defense's physical stamina.
Every time the Miami defenders got tired and exhaled, ASU just ran another bruising play right up the middle.
Exactly.
What's fascinating here is the underlying mechanism that makes a 98-play strategy actually function, because sheer volume is not a guaranteed path to victory.
Right. Things can go wrong.
Exactly. If you run 98 plays but you commit penalties or drop passes or fumble the ball, you lose.
Yeah, the structural integrity of this constrictor methodology relies entirely on a zero-turnover environment.
And ASU never gave Miami a free breath or short field.
They played a remarkably clean game. But, I mean, to maintain that level of discipline for nearly 100 snaps, that borders on impossible.
It does. But the secret lies in their quarterback, C. McHugh. He essentially becomes the silent architect of this system because he just refuses to force the issue.
Right, he didn't need to throw the ball 50 yards down the field into double coverage.
No, his stat line is a masterclass in hyper-efficiency. He went 37 of 49, passing for 335 yards, and crucially, 0 interceptions.
0 interceptions on almost 50 throws.
Yeah, he simply distributed the ball methodically. C. McBean was the primary target, catching 12 passes for 116 yards.
And those aren't highlight reel, over-the-shoulder bombs.
Not at all. Those are agonizing, chain-moving completions. 4 yards here, 6 yards there.
It drains the clock and keeps the defense trapped on the field.
Exactly.
It's pure physics. In fact, in the coaching notes from the sources, ASU coach Vince Darby joked that this deep dive shouldn't be framed as a sports breakdown at all.
What did he call it?
He called his game plan a motivational science speech.
That's great.
Because the strategy wasn't built on trickery or deception. It was built on mass multiplied by acceleration over 3 relentless hours.
It really was pure physics.
But I have to push back a little on the invincibility of this approach. Looking closely at the box score, Miami actually did find a crack in the armor.
Right, they had that one huge play.
Yeah, P. Cotton ripped off a massive 95-yard touchdown run. If you are ASU and your entire philosophy is built around a slow, methodical, 10-play drive kind of game, aren't you incredibly vulnerable to exactly that?
It seems like it.
Doesn't one massive fluke play threaten to ruin the math of your entire day?
It is a logical concern, definitely. But the sources reveal exactly why that 95-yard sprint didn't actually matter in the grand scheme of things.
Okay, why?
It was a statistical anomaly, and it remained an anomaly because of how the Arizona State defense responded. They ensured that Miami's offense was entirely one-dimensional.
Right, forcing their quarterbacks into an absolute nightmare scenario.
Exactly, because Miami just couldn't string together a cohesive drive to save their lives.
ASU's defense completely derailed the Miami passing game.
It really did. Kay Wilds anchored the unit with 7 tackles, and Jay Jeheda was just a tactical disruptor. He logged 3 tackles for loss and 1.5 sacks.
And for anyone unfamiliar with the term, a tackle for loss isn't just a negative play, it's a total schedule wrecker.
It really is. It turns a standard 2nd and 5 into a desperate 3rd and long.
Which eliminates half the playbook and forces the offense into a really predictable passing situation.
Exactly. And Miami's starting quarterback, A. Moses, threw a costly interception under that pressure.
So they benched him, right?
Yeah, they brought in Dean Nwangwu to try and stop the bleeding, but he went an abysmal 1 for 8 with another interception.
Ouch.
So, regarding the vulnerability to a fluke play, ASU's massive volume of 98 offensive plays made Miami's single explosive run mathematically irrelevant.
Yeah, when you control the ball for that long and your defense forces the opponent into a 1 for 8 passing slump.
A 95-yard run is nothing more than a momentary blip on the radar.
It is like Miami landed one spectacular punch and ASU just absorbed the impact, reset their stance, and went right back to leaning their entire body weight on them.
It was a suffocating ground war.
But here is where we make a really fascinating transition. ASU proved you can dismantle an opponent by hoarding the clock and running the ball down their throats. But what if you don't care about the clock at all? What if your offense is so ruthlessly efficient that you do not even need the ground game to win?
That brings us to the zero-gravity paradox of the #1 ranked team in the country, the Tulsa Golden Hurricane.
The contrast here provides just an incredible look at strategic polarization. We move from the ultimate ground and pound philosophy to the ultimate air raid.
Let's examine the Week 3 specifics for them.
Number 1, Tulsa took on Texas Tech and demolished them 43-18. And the stats generated in this matchup are mind-bending.
They really are.
Tulsa's quarterback, R. Capps, completed 45 of 54 passes for 550 yards and 6 touchdowns.
550 yards. That is video game numbers.
It is. And his receiver, L. Owen, caught 17 passes for 236 yards and a score.
Which is just wild. Think about the physiological endurance required for a receiver to run full-speed routes and secure 17 catches in a single game.
It's exhausting just thinking about it. Meanwhile, his teammate I. Curtin caught 2 touchdowns on 10 catches.
So they were just spreading the ball everywhere.
Yeah, but here's where it gets really interesting. This is the most shocking nugget buried in this entire stack of sources.
What is it?
In a game where they scored 43 points, Tulsa rushed the ball exactly 5 times for a grand total of 0 net yards.
0.
0. Which forces me to ask, isn't a completely one-dimensional offense supposed to be fundamentally flawed?
You would think so. Every football pundit insists you must establish the run to open up the pass.
Right. Doing what Tulsa did is like playing rock, paper, scissors, announcing to your opponent, hey, I am throwing rock every single time.
But your rock is actually a sledgehammer?
Yes. It doesn't matter that they know what is coming.
It completely defies conventional sports logic. Defenses are trained to recognize patterns.
Right.
If a defense knows you cannot or will not run the ball, they should theoretically be able to drop every defender into pass coverage and just shut down the passing lanes.
Yet Texas Tech couldn't stop it at all, and the humor of this extreme strategy was not lost on the Tulsa sideline.
Oh, I loved this part of the notes.
In the postgame notes, Tulsa coach Todd Davis delivered a brilliant piece of bravado. He issued an open recruiting pitch to the media stating, anybody RB recruit that wants to be a Heisman finalist, hit me up.
That's amazing.
Right. For context, the Heisman Trophy is the most prestigious individual award in college sports. It's usually given to players with mind-boggling statistics.
Yeah, so pitching Heisman dreams to a running back immediately after your team literally abandoned the run for 0 yards.
It is top-tier psychological warfare.
It really is. But if we connect this to the bigger picture, we have to look at the mechanics of how a zero rushing yard offense actually functions against a high-level defense.
So it's at work.
What Tulsa's doing is utilizing the short passing game to literally replace the traditional run game.
Ah, okay.
When our Caps completes 45 of 54 passes, he isn't throwing deep bombs on every down. Many of those throws are bubble screens, quick slants, and hitches.
Right, short, quick stuff.
Yeah, like a bubble screen where the quarterback takes the snap and immediately throws it out wide to a receiver who has blockers setting up in front of him. That is essentially just a forward handoff.
It is a really high percentage safe throw.
Exactly. You don't need to hand the ball to a running back to gain 4 yards if you can throw a horizontal pass to a receiver in space for those exact same 4 yards.
You are achieving the exact same result, just changing the delivery method.
Precisely.
But the defense has to play a role in this too, right? I mean, an offense can only afford to pass the ball 54 times if they aren't worried about clock management.
Because incompletions stop the clock.
Exactly, which gives the opposing team more time.
The second half of this equation rests squarely on the Tulsa defense. They basically guaranteed the offense unlimited opportunities.
Sources really highlight the performance of A. Hartman.
Oh yeah, he generated 3 sacks and 4 tackles for loss.
And D. Orlando was just a sideline-to-sideline presence. He racked up 13 tackles.
Right, and here's the causality of that defensive success. When Tulsa's offense scores rapidly through the air, it induces complete panic on the opposing sideline.
Texas Tech looked at the scoreboard, realized they were falling behind, and had to abandon their own balanced game plan.
Exactly. They were forced into predictable passing situations just to try and keep pace.
And when a defensive lineman knows the opponent has to pass, they don't have to worry about reading the run at all.
Exactly the point. Linemen like A. Hartman can just pin their ears back and hunt the quarterback.
Which they did. They held the Texas Tech quarterback, M. Troop, to 255 yards and forced an interception.
By suffocating Texas Tech's consistency, the Tulsa defense effectively bought our Caps unlimited chances to decipher the coverage and just continue executing that aerial assault.
So what does this all actually mean for you? When you step back and look at these two extreme examples, it completely shatters that myth of the perfectly balanced scale we talked about earlier.
It really does.
Whether you are prepping for a boardroom meeting or optimizing a team at work or managing an investment strategy, you are constantly told to diversify,
That had your bets.
to cross-train. Yet we just analyzed an Arizona State team that ran the ball 39 times with a single player, and a Tulsa team that threw the ball 54 times while actively ignoring the ground game.
It's wild.
Are the sources suggesting that our pursuit of balance is actually hindering our potential?
I believe the sources are revealing a hard truth about competitive environments, honestly.
Yeah.
True dominance rarely comes from being perfectly well-rounded.
Yeah.
Often the teams or companies or individuals that try to be good at everything end up being exceptional at nothing.
That makes a lot of sense. Miami and Texas Tech likely played standard balanced football. They tried to run, then pass, then run again.
Right. They operated as jacks of all trades and were methodically dismantled by opponents who mastered a single extreme.
ASU recognized their structural advantage was physical mass and the manipulation of time.
And Tulsa recognized their advantage was sheer aerial efficiency and spatial geometry.
Both achieved massive blowout victories against top 25 opponents because they executed their extreme identities flawlessly.
They didn't dilute their strengths just to satisfy an arbitrary scorecard of being balanced.
No. ASU didn't force a vertical passing game simply to keep Miami guessing. They established their identity. We are going to run M Queen until your defensive line collapses.
And Tulsa didn't force a ground game for 2 yards a carry just to prove they could. They embraced their reality. Our Caps is going to throw it 54 times, and your secondary cannot cover our receivers in space.
It is a masterclass in the power of a highly refined, uncompromising identity.
When you lean so heavily and so unapologetically into your specific competitive advantage, the opponent is stripped of their ability to dictate the terms of the engagement.
They are forced to play your game on your terms.
Exactly.
That is such a powerful takeaway. The flawless execution of a bold, singular strategy beats conventional, watered-down balance every single time.
It's about smashing the perfectly balanced scale rather than spending all your energy trying to carefully weigh everything out.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the 2035 Week 3 results. We've traced the blueprint of dominance from the suffocating, clock-hoarding ground game of Arizona State to the zero-gravity, sledgehammer aerial assault of Tulsa.
This raises an important question, though, something for you to consider long after this deep dive ends.
Let's hear it.
If the #1 team in the entire nation can score 43 points and win easily with exactly 0 rushing yards, are we approaching an era where entire traditional roles become totally obsolete? Look at your own industry, your own daily routines, or your own team structure. What is the metaphorical running game that conventional wisdom insists you absolutely must have that you might actually be able to abandon entirely?
Something to think about. Catch you on the next deep dive.